During my time working in an East St. Louis poverty program, we were sometimes asked to take in a few teenagers from the infamous Pruitt-Igoe housing project. The mere request froze us in our tracks. Located in the heart of St. Louis, Pruitt-Igoe was already seen as a virtual dehumanization camp. Blacks were literally schooled in gang violence, drug trafficking, prostitution, gambling, and so on. None of those students chosen to join us ever showed up. This sort of behavior was new to me back then. I grew up in an America that offered no special support to blacks. Our fate was in our own hands, whether we liked it or not. I would have jumped at a chance to join a program like our program in East St. Louis. But the Pruitt-Igoe kids blew off what I, in an America indifferent to blacks, would have run to.
The first demand is that we have effective civil rights legislation, no compromise, no filibuster. What do you say?
In the politically charged 60s, the great cultural shift that separated their generation from mine was the advent of white guilt, the very engine of post-60s liberalism.
For Negro poverty is not white poverty. Many of its causes and many of its cures are the same. There are differences. For the Negro, they are a constant reminder of oppression. For the white, they are a constant reminder of guilt.
This was not actual guilt. Rather, it was the loss of moral authority and legitimacy incurred when America, in the mid-60s, finally admitted to its long indulgence in racism, sexism, and other bigotries. To win back moral authority, America took substantial responsibility for the advancement of its former victims, thereby lifting responsibility off the shoulders of people like the youth who never showed up. In this new era, the assuaging of white guilt became more important than black development. And this is how white guilt caused blacks to lose a degree of agency over their own fate, just as they began to experience real freedom.
There is a direct line from Pruitt-Igoe to Ferguson. Pruitt-Igoe is especially important. Its implosion on camera became an iconic moment in the history of public housing in America and the world. And it seemed to connote that this program, which was supposed to save poor people and keep them away from slums, replace slums, had actually failed. It was much bigger than housing. That's what people have to understand. It was much bigger than housing per se. This is not an overstatement to say that public housing was influenced by socialism. We can design an all-inclusive environment that was going to make your life better than you could make it yourself. There were the specific census tracts in St. Louis that were demolished to make way for Pruitt-Igoe were all occupied by poor black people or working class black people. They were organic black communities. Many of the houses that were torn down were owned by their occupants. They weren't owned by white slumlords and overseers.